Okay, picture this. It's 2:14 in the morning. You just, finally, fell asleep about an hour ago after a marathon day of work, parenting, the whole shebang. And then, a cry from the other room jolts you awake. You handle it, you crawl back into bed, and just as you start to drift off again, boom, it's 6 a.m. Your older kid wants breakfast. You feel like you scraped by with maybe 4 hours of sleep, but inside your skull, something way more damaging is going on. What if I told you that wasn't 4 hours of rest? It was zero. Let's dive into the neuroscience of why that is, and, more importantly, what you can actually do about it.
So this is the key idea we need to wrap our heads around: sleep fragmentation. See, when your sleep is interrupted, you don't just pause your rest and pick up where you left off. Nope. You completely reset the entire cycle. Your brain has this amazing waste clearance system, but here's the catch. It only runs during deep sleep. So every single time you're forced awake, that system shuts down. The analogy here is perfect. It's like a cleaning crew getting fired halfway through their shift. All the gunk, all the metabolic toxins and waste that built up during the day, they just get left behind.
Now, to really get the consequences of that, you need to meet the two main players inside your head. On one side, you've got the prefrontal cortex. Just think of it as the calm, cool, and collected CEO of your brain. It's in charge of logic, planning, keeping your emotions in check. But on the other side, you've got the amygdala. This is your ancient, hardwired threat detector. Its only job is to scream danger and hit the panic button for your fight-or-flight response. When you're well-rested, the CEO is firmly in charge. But after a night of fragmented sleep, well, a hostile takeover is about to go down.
Okay, let's pull back the curtain and see what's actually happening inside the brain when it's in this state of overload. And I want to be clear, these changes aren't just in your head psychologically, they are profoundly physiological, right down to the cellular level. It's a full-blown neurochemical storm that makes a totally normal day feel absolutely impossible.
Now get ready for this number, because it's pretty staggering. After just one single night of fragmented sleep, your amygdala, that emotional threat detector, becomes 60% more reactive. 60. That is not a small number. It means your brain's internal alarm system is now on a hair trigger, and it starts seeing threats literally everywhere, even when there are none.
And this quote just nails what that 60% feels like in the real world. That insane reactivity is exactly why a slightly weird email from your boss feels like a personal attack. It's why traffic feels like a conspiracy against you. And it's why a simple spilled cup of milk by your toddler can trigger this wave of rage that feels completely out of proportion. Your logical CEO has been locked out of the office, and your primitive brain is now running the show, screaming that everything is a life-or-death crisis. And while all that is happening, there's this invisible hormonal chaos going on under the surface. Your body, thinking it's in constant danger, floods your system with cortisol, the main stress hormone. But here's the other kicker. Just a few hours of broken sleep can make your body's cells resistant to insulin. So when you inevitably grab that sugary snack at 3 p.m. for a quick energy boost, the sugar can't actually get into your cells to give you energy. It just hangs out in your bloodstream, leading to that massive, soul-crushing energy crash an hour later, leaving you feeling even worse than before. So, if any of this is starting to sound eerily familiar, I promise you, you are not alone. And the problem isn't just your personal sleep schedule. There's a huge cultural shift happening right now. A kind of backlash against this whole idea of peak wellness that has made so many of us feel like we're constantly failing. The Global Wellness Summit actually has a name for this. They call it the well-being paradox. We live in this age where we can track our sleep, score our recovery, graph our glucose levels. Everything is measurable. But for so many people, all that data doesn't bring peace of mind. It just brings more pressure. Wellness has stopped being something we feel and has turned into something we have to perform. We're so busy optimizing and measuring that we've completely lost touch with the actual feeling of just being, well.
And this is so crucial. The new frontier of wellness isn't about pushing yourself harder or finding the next biohack. It's about a fundamental shift in how we approach it. As the experts at the summit put it, it's about feeling safer in our own bodies, feeling more connected to other people, and, just feeling more alive. This is a huge move away from performance and a return to genuine restoration. And that brings us to the core of the solution. The whole conversation is finally moving beyond just willpower and discipline. The next frontier of human health, and honestly the key to surviving modern life, is learning how to consciously regulate your own nervous system.
Okay, let me be crystal clear about this, because it's the most important thing you'll hear today. If you're struggling, the bottleneck isn't you. It is not a personal failing. It is not a lack of willpower. The problem is neurological. Modern life, with its endless notifications and fragmented sleep, has locked many of our nervous systems into a low-grade, chronic state of fight or flight. Your body basically thinks it's being chased by a tiger 24/7.
So, do any of these look familiar? Fragmented sleep, which we've been talking about. That persistent, low-humming anxiety that's just always there. That feeling of brain fog where clear thought is just gone. Hormonal disruption, like those insulin issues. And of course, burnout. Here's the thing. These aren't all separate problems. They are all symptoms of a single root cause, a dysregulated, overloaded nervous system.
All right, so how do we start to fix it? How do we regulate it? We don't need fancy tech or expensive retreats. We start with the absolute basics, the foundations, what we eat and how we move. But the key here is to reframe them. These aren't chores. These are direct tools for calming our nervous system down. I know. Thinking about healthy eating when you're exhausted feels like a cruel joke. So let's make it stupidly simple. These tips are from the CDC, and they're designed for this exact situation. First, get the family involved in planning. It takes some of the mental load off you. Second, just pick one day. That's it, one day to prep a few things for the week. Third, your freezer is your new best friend. Leftovers are your secret weapon for chaotic days. And fourth, use technology. Online grocery delivery or pickup is a game changer. It removes a huge hurdle. Now this might be the most important piece of advice in the entire CDC guide for people in crisis. You have to give yourself grace. You can't compare yourself to the standard you had before kids or before this high-pressure job. The goal isn't perfection. It's about finding your new normal, a sustainable baseline that works for your life right now.
And the exact same principle applies to movement. This is not about punishing workouts. It's about using movement as medicine for your nervous system. A simple 30-minute walk, especially in the morning sunlight to help your sleep hormones, is incredibly powerful. So is just taking the stairs, or having a random 3-minute dance party in the living room with your kids. You could even lift some cans of soup while you're waiting for water to boil. It all counts. These small, consistent acts of movement send a signal of safety to your body.
Okay, so those are the foundations. But what about those moments of acute crisis? You know, the day after a terrible night's sleep when you feel like you just cannot function. For that, we need a powerful tool, an emergency reboot button, if you will.
So here's the question. It's 1 in the afternoon. You've hit the wall. You have a huge meeting in 20 minutes and your brain is just full of static. You have literally zero time. What is the single most effective thing you can do in just 15 minutes to perform a full neurological reset?
The answer is a protocol called NSDR, or non-sleep deep rest. Now, this is not traditional meditation. It's a research-backed tool that uses guided body scans and specific breathing patterns to manually downshift your nervous system out of that fight-or-flight mode and into a state of deep restoration. It actually guides your brain into producing the same brain waves, alpha and theta waves, that occur during the most restorative parts of sleep.
And the best part? It is incredibly easy to do. When you have that 15-minute gap, maybe the kids are finally napping or you just block it on your work calendar, do not pick up your phone. Find a quiet space, even if it's your car in the driveway. Put on some headphones to block everything out. Play a guided NSDR audio. You can find tons of great ones for free online. And then just follow the instructions. That's it. And here is the absolutely incredible payoff. Researchers have found that a 15 to 20-minute NSDR session can produce restorative effects on your brain that are similar to a full 90-minute sleep cycle. Now, it's not a long-term substitute for a good night's sleep, but as a survival tool to get through an impossible day, it is unparalleled. It can clear brain fog, lower your anxiety, and give you back the resources you need to just function. And this all connects back to that bigger trend that the Global Wellness Summit identified. In our world of increasing stress and uncertainty, the whole focus of wellness is shifting. It's becoming less about achieving some perfect state of being well and more about just being ready. Ready for the challenges of the day, ready for a crisis, ready for life. Self-care isn't an indulgence anymore. It's about building resilience. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. If we reframe self-care not as just another thing on our to-do list that we have to optimize, but as a fundamental act of survival, of self-preservation, what does that change for you? What is the one non-negotiable thing, whether it's a 15-minute NSDR session, a daily walk, or just 5 minutes of quiet, that you will commit to this week to regulate your nervous system? That one choice could be the most important one you make.